All right, folks, you are listening to the Yishai Fleisher Show, broadcasting live from an Uber cab somewhere between LaGuardia and Brooklyn. Just landed in from Florida. We had a very fast 2-day trip there. I am with the Director General of the Jewish Community of Hebron, Uri Karzan, and we are selling, marketing, and connecting people with the project of new apartments in Hebron. This is a historical project, 200 years in the making. And we've been traveling for the better part of the last week to the United States, connecting with people, and especially with Chabad and pro-Chabad folks, because this project is marketed also as a Chabad property, because that's part of the story. And last week, I think we played the Avram Fried video that we produced to tell the story. Well, it's been a great time down in Florida and in New York. And as you know, we try very hard to connect our brothers and sisters to the story of Israel in a loving way. We have to strengthen that connection all the time, and especially now in this time where Israel's in conflict, where our soldiers are fighting, and God forbid some are falling, and that Israel is really being attacked from a lot of places. I just saw an article that calls Israel a pariah state, and so there's no surprise that there's depression in some quarters and concern, and that's why being out here is so important right now, to give the chizuk for our brothers and sisters, to make sure that they're strong in their mission, and that we're all out there fighting in different ways, if it's politically, if it's financially, if it's supporting organizations that you believe in, if it's starting new organizations. I've seen that as well. So people need that strength. People need to give each other that strength. We were just flying with a Satmar Chassid, and I think gave him a little bit of strength to be more connected to Israel. And Chabad Chassidim, and secular folks, and all kinds of folks out there, and pro-Israel non-Jews. So it's been very special. I got a chance on this trip to actually do 2 speaking events. I spoke at BRS, Boca Raton Synagogue, and then I also spoke at Palm Beach Synagogue, and I recorded both of those. So I thought about playing for you the speech that I gave, which is about the 4 reasons why Hamas started the war on October 7th. There's actually even another one that I didn't talk about, but 4 reasons why Hamas started the war on October the 7th and what we can learn from it. And this was actually an interesting thing, because this is a Yom Yerushalayim event. Let me preface by saying that I was coming down to Florida. I called up the rabbis that I know down here, and I said, I'm coming in exactly for Yom Yerushalayim. Can we do a Yom Yerushalayim event? And I think that I had the zchut of really creating the Yom Yerushalayim events, the Jerusalem Day events down here in Florida. They didn't exist, and it was in both events. It was a packed house. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was Yom Yerushalayim, most likely, or maybe it was the free food that they were giving out. One of those. But in any case, here is my talk at Boca Raton Synagogue with the great Rabbi Ephraim Goldberg opening for me. Rabbi Ephraim, by the way, was my schoolmate. He was just a few years older than me in Frisch, and he is an amazing rabbi. And in general, the Boca Raton Jewish community is an amazingly strong Jewish community. So here's the talk that I gave them, and the merit that I had to bring a little bit of the spirit of Yom Yerushalayim to Florida.
Okay, everyone, Chag Sameach. Chag Sameach, Chag Sameach. Even as we find ourselves in these 8 months, and we have in the lobby of the shul when we walk in, one of the former page turners has been designated as the count of how many days it's been. We shouldn't be able to walk onto this campus without it being on the front and center of our minds and hearts. How many are still underground in tunnels, hostages waiting to come home, soldiers fighting on front lines? We pass that sign, we see that number. It should be on our hearts as we daven. And so even as we are in this darkness and in the midst of this really, really challenging time in Gaza, in the north, and all over Israel, but days like today, Yom Yerushalayim, we pause to say thank you to Hashem that with it and despite it, We're in a time of miracles, absolute, extraordinary miracles. Some of you, I won't say the average age in this room, but some of you were alive and remember what it was like to have Israel before we had a united, undivided, eternal capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem. Before you could go to Maras HaMachpelah and Hebron. Before we had Gaza, and now have Gaza once again, and please God, maybe we'll continue to. But it's nothing short of and nothing less than an absolute miracle. And days like today, we give halal and hoda'ah, whether literally or figuratively, is a halachic question, but all of us should pause and from our hearts just say thank you, Hashem, that we live in such absolute miraculous times. We are honored to welcome Yishai Fleisher back to our community. Yishai has been here before, has been here in person, has been here virtually on Behind the Bima, and when he said he'll be in South Florida, we had an opportunity to celebrate Yom Yerushalayim together with the international spokesperson of Hebron, with somebody who's been on the front lines physically, served in the Israeli army and fought for our people. And I don't know which, I probably asked you this on Behind the Bima, was it harder to fight offline or online? You may have seen Yishai recently on Piers Morgan and facing an audience of millions and trying to stand for and represent Israel, the Jewish people, decent people. I imagine sometimes the battles online are as hard as the battles offline, and Yishai has been on that front line fighting for us, and so it's really an honor. I mentioned previously when he visited that he and I were in high school together. I'm a couple grades older, but we did overlap and go to high school together. And I don't want to sound presumptuous in saying how proud I am and honored I am to know him and to call him a friend, but grateful that he is here. So big thank you to Talia for putting our Lunch and Learn together today and all that she does. Big thank you to our wonderful custodians, of course, for all that they do. Thank you all for being here and finding time in the middle of this busy day. Without any further ado, it's an honor and a privilege to welcome, as we enjoy with a Chag Sameach, this Yom Yerushalayim, Yishai Fleisher.
Wow, thank you so much. And I want to really thank the rabbis, for just jumping to it. And I don't know about you guys, have you guys been receiving videos from your kids or cousins or friends? The rabbi showed me he's got videos of Yom Yerushalayim in Yerushalayim. Have you received videos already? Have you seen the flag waving? So I'm in Florida because I'm here to help Hebron and take care of business. And so I'm not in Yerushalayim. And I'm so happy that I'm with you. I'm so happy that we're celebrating together. So today, before I say anything, if I say something smart, that's great. If I don't, okay. But let's just celebrate for a second. Let's really thank Hashem for the gift of a rebuilt Yerushalayim, and that we're part of it. We are part of it. We are part of it wherever we are. We're part of it if we're in BOCA, when we're in New York, in Yerushalayim or Hebron. We're part of this great miracle. We're living in a time that Hashem has brought us back to our land. We're rebuilding the Yerushalayim. It's the biggest Yerushalayim that has been in Jewish history. And our enemies see it. And our enemies are wowed by the largeness of Yerushalayim. They want to stop it. They want to call it an Al-Aqsa flood. They want to block it from going forward. But they can't do it because there's a greater force behind. It's not our awesome leaders. Our leaders are sometimes smart, sometimes not so smart. But we have a big leader in heaven that wants Yerushalayim to be built now. Hashem has decided that after 2,000 years, He's going to ingather the Jewish people and rebuild Yerushalayim. And our job, wherever we are, is to be part of that. How many people in this room have an apartment in Yerushalayim? How many people in this room have grandchildren close in Yerushalayim or close to Yerushalayim? How many people here have a part in building it, in supporting it in some way? And so we are all part of this project. That's what I say to people. We all have to find just one step in which we say to ourselves, I'm part of it. And do we have that picture in our house of ourselves in our favorite place in Eretz Yisrael? I always tell people, take a picture of yourself in your favorite place. Put it on your mantle. Or then go to, what's the wine store around here? What's your best kosher wine store, huh? A Grove, because in Aventura, it's Sarah's tent over there, right? So, you pick up that bottle of wine. I recommend the Hebron wines, okay? We make great wines. And you pour that wine, and it's a transportation device. It's a unification device. You take a sip of that wine, boom! You're out there. So today, more than anything, forget if I'm going to say anything useful or not, just to celebrate. And I want to bless I have many friends in this room, rabbis, friends, activists, There's really a lot of people here that are part of the story, and it's a zchut for me to be with you here. I also want to bless your new shul that's being built. It should be big, beautiful, successful, and really keep generations connected to Yiddishkeit and to Eretz Yisrael. Amen. Come on. Amen. B'ezrat Hashem. Thank you, Hashem. Good. All right. I actually want to start with a little weird segment. Okay, together. I want to ask you a question. I want to find 4 reasons why Hamas started a war on October 7th and learn from those reasons something positive. 4 reasons. Who can help me with any reasons? Yes, sir. Nothing too smart. Come on, keep it simple. Keep it simple.
When they heard that some pilots were reported to say that they would not respond, apparently one of the prisoners, Hamas, said when they heard that sort of tip.
Okay, so in other words, I'll make it a little bit broader, but that's exactly the first point. I agree with that. Thank you. Exactly what I needed, which is Israeli-Jewish division. Divisiveness. When we're divided, so the enemy comes at us. We know it from the Torah. Whenever Jewish people are fighting, that's when Amalek shows up. So the first simple thing is when they saw the various, you called it the pilots issue, but it was much bigger than that. It was the whole judicial reform issue. When they saw that Israel was fighting against itself, and Khomeini, do you guys follow him on Twitter? This guy is psychopathic, okay? And every day he posts anti-Israel stuff. Khomeini from Iran, every day on Twitter, a very serious guy. And he's like, every day he's completely obsessed with destroying Israel. He keeps saying, Israeli society is falling apart from within, and now is the time to strike. He's talking like a real Haman from Iran. All right? So, what therefore is the simple lesson from the disunity and Jewish divisiveness causes our enemies to be more aggressive against us? Come on, be simple, guys. I'm a simple guy. Let's talk simple. Achdut. We need achdut. We need to. And my friend Dr. Mordechai Kedar said that the enemy, as usual, has been very surprised at the unity that came immediately after the October 7th strike. They have been surprised. Jewish unity is many different ways. Many different ways we could talk about Jewish unity. I don't want to make it too fluffy. Jewish unity is actually when I come here to speak with you today. That's part of Jewish unity. That's part of making sure that our brothers and sisters in the diaspora are part of it. And when you're talking with me and I send it back to Israel, we got to hold hands across the Atlantic. Another way of Jewish unity is you want to fight, but keep it. Jewish people, it's not like we always get along. What's our central book of Judaism? The Gemara. It's a book of Jewish argumentation. We argue. It's a whole book of just Jewish argument. Mamash. So therefore, but at the same time, when you do it l'shem shamayim, when you have an argument l'shem shamayim, when you keep it within bounds, respectful bounds, and a lot of my colleagues on the other side of the political aisle thank me for keeping it in bounds, for still having the ability to have a conversation. So that's another way. One way that we could fix it even more in Eretz Yisrael is driving. We need to have a little bit more achdut in driving. The biggest problem we have is merging. Jews hate to merge, okay? I've been waiting for 2,000 years to get into this lane, okay? You're not gonna get in front of me. Merging next to the tunnels in Gush Etzion where I live is absolutely murder. We got to be nicer to one another and be more achdus like over there. Okay, good. So we figured out the Jewish divisiveness is one of the reasons. Okay, my friend Israel, yes.
Never enforced to stop the process between Israel and Saudi Arabia.
Yafeh. Very good. Absolutely. That's right. We'll get to that, but let me keep that as number 3. Okay? What's number 2? Number 1, we said Jewish divisiveness. That's simple. Good. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, so you guys are excited about that. Good.
Maybe complacency or false sense of security.
Perfect. Exactly. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's exactly right. One of the reasons why Hamas attacked us on October 7th is because we let them. Because we let them. Here's something that I have learned. Giving away your land to your enemies is dumb. Don't do it. Don't give away your land to your enemies. Every single place that we've given away has been a home for our enemies. including the Sinai, by the way. Now they're finding all these tunnels. We all knew it. Now they're finding all these tunnels from Gaza to the Sinai, all the arms shipment through there. South Lebanon, I served in South Lebanon, was injured in South Lebanon. Now South Lebanon is the home of Hezbollah with 150,000 trained rockets against us. Okay? And certainly Gaza, we were there in 2005 trying to block the disengagement. Why were we trying to block the disengagement? Because God told us that this is our land? Yes. But also because we were like, this is going to be dangerous, like the Lubavitcher Rebbe always said. Very dangerous to give away this land. The jihad will understand that you're shrinking. And when you speak with Arabs, which I do a lot, Arabs say to me, with no difference, every one of them says the same thing. They say, Yishai, you are shrinking. You have left the Sinai. You have left South Lebanon. You have left Gaza. You have left the West Bank. You are shrinking. And we are patient. Allah is with us. I.e., when you shrink, the enemy understands that you're going away. In their mind, we're the crusaders. And we'll just go away at some point. That's how they see it. Okay? So when you do that, when you also funnel money to the bad guys, when you don't have your intelligence seriously understanding what's happening, our intelligence is smart. Too smart. Too smart. Too much, as you were hinting at. Too much here, not enough in the guts, you know? You got to understand what's going on. Look, you know where the enemy is. Strike the enemy, strike fear into the enemy, push him back. Don't let him tunnel underneath your nose. You know, we have a video of the head of Israeli intelligence, of army intelligence anyway, saying 3 months before the October 7th attack that the Hamas is now moving towards governance and peace. All they want to do is govern that land. 3 months beforehand. Do you remember that there was this big attack of this Islamic Jihad with rockets? It was about a year ago. Hamas purposefully, this is their own statements, did not participate in that to show the Israelis, we're not part of that, we're into peace. And to lull us into a false sense of complacency. Okay, so I don't want to dwell too much on this. So number one was Jewish divisiveness. Instead, what's much better is Jewish unity. The second one is don't do dumb things. Don't give away your land. Don't let the enemy burrow tunnels in your land and prepare for war against you. Don't let them. Don't let them. Israel cannot afford that. Israel's not the most powerful country in the Middle East. All that stuff, that stuff that liberals say, and the reason they say that is because it gives them a sense of pride. But at the end, it's actually not useful. We actually have to always say to people, we're on the knife's edge. We got to always be ready. We got to always be vigilant. Israel does not have the wherewithal, the space to be like, everything's good, we're the biggest boys around here. It's not like that. You got to be constantly vigilant. If you see them get out of line, you got to smash them. You can't allow 150,000 rockets to be trained against you. That's like somebody taking out a gun and pointing it at your head. That's dangerous. And so the answer is Jewish strength, Jewish bigness, Jewish not asleepness, not haughtiness. Can we roll that up into one term? What can we call that? Huh? What? Conceptia. But let's, in the positive term, I want to spin it positively, which is, we got to be strong. We got to be strong and awake, and not a lull to sleep. We got to know, here's a phrase I want you to think about. This is what I tell all my students. I say to them, Israel is an armed ethnic minority. That's what we are. We're an armed ethnic minority. Like the Kurds, who also have a small army called the Peshmerga, which means standing against death. We got to be tough out there. So it's Jewish toughness, Jewish strength. We got to bring that back. Everybody agrees with that. Nobody in Israel doesn't agree on one level or another that a certain kind of toughness has got to come back. It's the same thing here, by the way. That's got to be a stance around here. I don't know if you saw me on Piers Morgan. Whatever I said was fine, but it was more the attitude. The attitude is aggressive. It's ours. I know it's ours. You're not going to bamboozle me with your lies and with nonsense. With common sense and with strength, people, Israel will survive. Derech Eretz, Kadma LaTorah. Common sense thinking. Before you get too high, simple common sense thinking. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3, everybody was hinting at it, Saudi Arabia. What was going on there? The Abraham Accords is a beautiful vision. What is the Abraham Accords? What is the vision of the Abraham Accords? that the Jewish people are part of the region, that we are not so different than our Arab cousins. We are Semites. We speak Hebrew, they speak Arabic, it's related languages. We have a similar religion. Similarities. We're sons of Abraham. And the vision was, we are part of this region. We are part of this region. And enough with the war with the Palestinians and the jihadists. Except the fact that there's a tribe in the Middle East called Israel. And that tribe is going to be never going to leave. And therefore, let's start to make business, tourism, medicine, technology. Let's move it ahead, say the UAE. As we say in Arabic, khalas, enough. Let's move ahead. Come on. Come on, the war has gone nowhere. Now, smart Muslims, which exist, know that the jihad isn't leading them anywhere. It's not leading anywhere. You fought us for 100 years. What has it brought you? What has it brought you? What has it really given you? Is Israel out? No. Are your kids any smarter for fighting the Jews this whole time? No. What's so good about it? Nothing. So they start moving away from jihadism, and President Trump and his team, including David Friedman here, moved it towards this idea that the Jewish people Israel is a natural part of the Middle East. Let's move forward. That's called the Abraham Accords. By the way, the name Abraham Accords is brilliant. Just the name. Because what's the number one accusation against Israel today on campus or in the New York Times? What's the number one accusation?
Not indigenous.
Say it the way they say it. Right? But say it the way they say it. You said it right? You got the right? Huh?
Colonial and oppressor.
You're almost right. You're almost. Occupation. That's the word. Occupation is the biggest accusation. I call it the occupation accusation. That's the number one. You guys all said it. You're not from here. You're not from here. You're a white colonialist. Apartheid is that whole spiel. It all rests on the big lie, which is you're not from here. Okay? The word Abraham Accords, the word was brilliant. By the way, it was not President Trump that came up with it. If you read David Friedman's book, what happened was that a 3-star Puerto Rican general ran up like an hour before they were signing, and he said, "We need a name for this thing." And he goes, "I came up with a name, the Abraham Accords." And President Trump was like, "Shouldn't it be the Trump Accords?" and somehow they got convinced that it would be the Abraham Accords. But the truth is, the name Abraham Accords itself is a huge name, huge, because it means we're all the children of Abraham. The Jewish people are from here. We're an ancient people here, and that's the truth. And also, instead of, the word peace has become a dirty word. It's a dirty word. It doesn't mean what you think it means. It means shrinking Israel. That's what peace means. It doesn't mean shalom. It doesn't come from the word shlemut. It comes from the word peace from pieces, not shalom from shlemut. They want to make pieces out of Israel and shrink us. So Abraham Accords, that's such a beautiful word. Okay, Hamas heard about this, and who's the big fish? Saudi Arabia. They got this guy named Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, and this guy, from all reports, is a serious dude who wants to move his country into the next century. And one of the main things is to move away from jihadism, which is a big waste of time and money, and don't forget, the Saudis were one of the teachers of jihadism. They called it Wahhabism. So he's like, let's move away from that. I want to build a new city called Neom. I have a lot of friends who have a lot to do with Saudi Arabia. They tell me Riyadh is beautiful. Things are moving ahead. And if you want to move ahead, you know what you need? A little Jewish Yiddish cup, a little friends with the Jews. It'll never hurt. It's good for technology, good for medicine, good for trade. It's good. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. Maybe he read, that those who that what's told to Abraham that whoever blesses Abraham is blessed. Maybe he heard something about that. So he's moving ahead towards Saudi Arabia and Abraham. How do we know? Because, for example, they allowed suddenly flyovers, Israeli flyovers over Saudi Arabia. That's a dead giveaway. It's like, yallah, come on, we're part of this thing. I can't announce it officially yet, but we're moving in the right direction. Hamas, which is Muslim Brotherhood, which is like hardcore jihadism, they heard this and they said, this is a threat to us. If we accept this, that there's going to be peace between Israel and Saudi Arabia, where Mecca and Medina are, where Muhammad is from, we're done for. And so they had to launch that attack. They had to block the Abraham Accords. Okay, so now I ask you a simple question. If the Abraham Accords is what triggered, one of the things that triggered the October 7th attack, what's the answer?
Do it.
More Abraham Accords. More. Bigger. Israel's here. Israel's part of the Middle East as well. By the way, I think we can rename the Middle East now the Abrahamic region. Middle East is a European construct. The Abrahamic region. It's a nice name, right? And we're children of Abraham. They're the children of Abraham. Yalla, let's move ahead already. By the way, just if you wonder, are Arabs forever jihadists? So the answer is kinda, right? But Islam even allows you to accept the fact that you can't defeat your enemy. Part of the Abraham Accords relies on Jewish strength. When we're huge and powerful, they're like, okay, no, you can't do anything with these guys, so might as well make peace. It's part of the psyche. I'll give you an example. Recently, I was in Hebron touring a group like yourselves, and suddenly a general walked past and I stopped him to talk with my group. This general is the head of what's called the civil administration, the Minhal Ezrachi in Hebron. He deals on the issues of between Israel and the Arab population. That's what he does. He's a 3-star general, series guy. So he speaks to my American Jewish group. They said to him, what's going on? So he says to them the following. Listen to this. He says, 70% of the so-called Palestinians that come to me all say, we wish there was no Palestinian authority. We wish Israel would rule us, and life would be great. The Palestinian Authority is corrupt. They're jihadists. They're dreck. Who needs them? So the American group was very fascinated. They were very surprised. Is that really true? And he said, yeah, I'm telling you, Arabs say this to me. 10 minutes later, we were eating lunch, and another guy came to speak, and he says, polls show that 70% of the Arabs are in favor of October 7th and Hamas. And Hebron Arabs specifically are pro-Hamas, and specifically the youth are pro-Hamas, and I can tell you that my Arab friends also tell me that the youth is very pro-Hamas. Why? Because violence sells. They did a great job attacking Israel. All those videos that we think are horrible to them are candy. So my American group was stuck. They said to me, Yishai, which one is it? Is it 70% are pro-Israel or 70% are pro-Hamas? Which one is it? So I laughed. I said the answer is the answer is not exactly both. If you understand the Arab psyche, I call it the Middle East psyche. If you understand the Middle East psyche, the answer is plain. Both are true. The question is, who's strong? If Hamas is crushing us, yeah, go with the jihad. Sure, let's go with them. That's the natural choice. I'll go with the jihad. If Israel's crushing the jihad and there's no road, no avenue to life there, then let's go with Israel. Israel, good, medicine, roads, shopping, things will work out better. It's just a question of who's strong. But it's not gam v'gam, it's ozeh. Which one is it? Depends on if you're strong. The answer to most ailments in the Middle East is a strong Israel. So strong Israel, they'll respect you. They'll be like, okay, Israel's here to stay. They're the boss around here. So, okay, let's have a normal life. But if you let the Hamas do these things and then you let them send the videos around, then everybody's like, oh, the jihad is winning. Allahu Akbar. Allah, God is taking over. Allah's taking over. The Jews are done for. And so the question is, are you going to give him the right to say? Are you going to give the right to Khomeini to say the Jews are done for? He says it every day. If you make him eat his words, and you make him know that we're here for sure, that there's nowhere, that we're not going anywhere, the jihad dies down. It's the same thing with anti-Semitism, generally. When the Jews are strong, when they're takif, you see it in the Megillat Esther. When we're weak, people are coming out to kill us. When we're strong, people want to become more Jewish. Right? Megillat Esther makes it clear. Same thing, by the way, in Yonah. Like when the God is strong, people are like, okay, I believe the God of the Jews. Let me ask you this simple scientific question. Which day did the world like Israel better? The day after now I want you guys to remember, be serious now, because many of you remember. Which day does the world like Israel better? The day after the 6-Day War or the day after the Oslo Accords? Mashallah. Simple. after we're strong and God is with us and we're back in our land, people are like, whoa, Israel's awesome. I want to be with those guys. After we're like, man, we'll give away our land, we'll give the Palestinians this, and we'll give them arms, and we'll bring Arafat back, and everybody's like, look at this. This is, and think about it. Just think about movies. Who do you like? You like a hero. You don't like a loser. So be a hero. All right, so we covered, so what was the first one? Help me out. Help me remember. First one was? Huh? Unity. We're talking positive today. Today's Yom Yerushalayim. Unity. Second one we said was? Strength. The third one? Abraham Accords. More in the region. More and more normalization in the region. The fourth one is a little bit more contentious, but it's also true. There is one more reason that Hamas said that they started this war. What's that reason? It was on CBS. It was on WorldNet Daily. There was a report. This guy's sharp today. You're sharp today. The last one is Parah Aduma, the red heifers. You guys didn't follow this story? It was on CBS. It was in a lot of places. Spokesman for Hamas said, we saw that Israel shipped into Shiloh 5 red heifers. See, I got these friends in Texas. They're goyim, lovers of Israel. They want to move the Bible along. They found 5 real red heifers and shipped them at a very big cost, about $250,000, to Israel on an El Al plane. You know? And they shipped them, and then they came to Shiloh, and people came and saw them. And Hamas started getting very nervous. Oy Gewalt. They said, the temple is coming. The Jews want the temple. They believe that. They've got this thing. They believe that we want the temple. What do you think about that? They believe it. They really believe it. They're like, they're bringing back the cows. They're starting right now. They don't know the halacha that we're going to use it. It's got, and you need hyssop, and you need zata, and you have to burn it, and you have to do it outside of the, on Har Zaitim, and then you use it for purification. But they know that the red heifer means that we're moving towards a Beit HaMikdash in Yerushalayim. Okay, now here we could be, that's not, I'm not imagining this. This is their spokesman saying that. Remember what they call this war, the Al-Aqsa flood. Right? They understand that this whole thing's about Yerushalayim. We call this war swords of steel, iron. What is that? What is that? Some AI generated name? I used to have a video game, hockey video game called Blades of Steel. Is that what this is about? What are we talking about here? Blades of Steel, not Blades of... What are you talking about? Truth of the matter is, actually, there is a beauty to the name Swords of Steel, because only a few months before the war, they actually found, around Ein Gedi, they found swords, Roman swords, that were hidden in unbelievable condition. Even the leather holster was in good condition. Swords of the Romans that were captured by the Jewish rebels and hid inside a cave that they already knew, but suddenly they saw something in the cave. They saw these beautiful swords. Basically, Jewish rebels killed probably some Roman soldiers and took their swords and used them to fight against the Romans. So there's something in the name which is beautiful, but still though, when the Hamas says the name of the war, they call it Al-Aqsa flood. It's all about Al-Aqsa. And we call it, some name that is not clear. This war is about something bigger. It's about Yerushalayim. It's about Yerushalayim. And why should we be more ashamed of what they think about us? Why should we be ashamed that we want the Beit HaMikdash? Why should we be ashamed of that? Now, there's two ways you could say. You could make two different analysis. One analysis, you could say, Yishai, the cows stirred them up, and therefore we shouldn't do it, right? Don't stir them up, right? Don't talk about the Beit HaMikdash. But that's not the real answer, and we all know it. We all know it. Because inside they know about us that that's what we want. And maybe, you know what? It's my suggestion to you that yes, more Mikdash. By the way, have you seen these patches in Israel and the soldiers? You guys have seen these patches? What are you saying no? You haven't seen all these different patches that Israeli soldiers have?
A lot of different ones.
Right, but have you seen the one that's the most exciting one? There's two. One says Mashiach. Okay, when you got Chabad out there spreading it out, they have a way of winning. And the other one is the Beit HaMikdash. People are you see soldiers everywhere, not such religious soldiers, putting this patch. Why? Because we want a purpose. It's not just bring them home. It's not just the hostages. Come on. That's so small. That's not really what this is about. It's about first thing cleaning out the jihad. And the other thing, it's about something bigger. We want a Jewish state. We want a proud Jewish state. And we should say it. And when we say it, they'll shrink back from us. They'll shrink back from us because they actually are religious people. They believe in Allah. I always, by the way, say to them, Allah loves you. He's given you 400 million children, 22 countries, oil coming out of the ground, but Allah gave this to us. I say to them, Shuf, look with your own eyes. You've never defeated us here. And that's the way we have to behave. Okay, so I want to celebrate with you guys. Let's embrace those 4 reasons. Let's embrace more Jewish unity, more Jewish strength, more Abraham Accords, more Beit HaMikdash, and we'll be on the right path, B'ezrat Hashem. Let's hope that this war is going to move us in the right direction. Let's hope that Rav Kook says that when a war comes, the light of Mashiach starts to come out. There's a light of Mashiach. There's something in this war, and there's many bad things about this war. Many bad things. I don't want to get into it today. There's many things that are questionable. But there's also a light that's coming out. There's a chizuk that's coming out. That's what we have to be. And even if we don't feel it 100%, fake it till you make it. Okay? Let's go. We got to feel that energy, especially today. Okay. Now I just want to show you a few films. And actually, you want to do some questions? You want to do a few questions? Anybody have issues on their mind? Sir.
Yeah.
This guy, former soldier right here, recently fought in Gaza, right there. Kol hakavod. Yes, sir.
First of all, I want to back up what you said about Al-Aqsa and Beit HaMikdash and everything. Every house we went to in Gaza, they had a picture on their wall of Al-Aqsa, where our Beit HaMikdash should be. And 100% everything you said, I agree with you.
So as a soldier, I just want to record it into the mic. As a soldier, you saw that every house in Gaza that you went to had a picture of Al-Aqsa?
Every house, yeah.
That's right. And instead, you're saying that we need to...
We think it's about other things. We think we're a Western country and we're whatever. My question is, as a soldier, I'm American, I flew out there to fight in the war, proud Jew, believe in a strong Jewish country. What would you tell young people about what's an optimistic future for us in Israel? Because I don't see it. I don't have faith in our government. I don't think my grandkids will even see the Beit HaMikdash the way things are going. I want to believe it. But I mean, I hear what you're saying. I believe there's a bubble of the West Bank, Hebron, not the West of Judea and Samaria. I have the bubble of Tel Aviv. I fought with these guys. They look for every reason not to shoot. They're Smonanim. This is what I see. And I want to live in Israel. I just got married. We both want to. We want to have a future. I want to have my company there. Taxes are crazy. Politicians are delusional. What's going on? What's the vision? What would we hope for?
First thing, one more round of applause for our soldier. Come on. Kol hakavod. You know what? I love your question so much. I really do. I love every word you said. The answer to all those questions is only one. It's one word, which is you. You're the answer. You're the solution. You're the solution. You're the future. And if a guy like you comes to Eretz Yisrael and makes it, you're going to help change it. Every one thing that you said, and I know there's many more behind the things that you just said. There's many more problems. They're all true. And we got to work on it. The question is very simple. Do you believe that this is a time of kibbutz galuyot? Do you believe this is a time that Hashem is building Yerushalayim? Do you want to be part of that? Do you want to help fix those problems? That's what I want to do. And I'm with you. I spit blood on crazy things to make our country better. I agree with you. But if we come with that attitude, from a loving attitude of we're going to fix it, we're going to be part of it, we're going to make it better, even though there's mafias, and even though there's socialisms, and even though there is, unbelievable borut, unbelievable ignorance of plain Judaism. Unbelievable ignorance of plain Judaism. You fight with those guys, I fight with those guys also. You speak to them, I ask them in the army, I say to them, who was the wife of Yitzchak? They don't know. I say to them, what month are we in? Jewish month. They don't know. I say, can you read out to me the 12 Jewish months? No. So there is borut, there is ignorance, serious ignorance. We have to take upon ourselves a project. I've taken upon myself Hebron. I've taken upon myself, I'll show you in a second, the biblical highway. I've taken upon myself some projects. I raise funds, I work in the government, I lobby, I do what I can to move it forward, whatever I can take. You got to move something forward. You got to get involved in a mission. You're a mission guy. If you flew over from here to there to fight, that's the kind of guy you are. You're a fighter who's willing to fly. Your wife is with you. She wants to make aliyah. That's it. That's all you need. That's all you need. And remember that with all the jifa, with all the negative stuff, with all the garbage, you'll admit there's unbelievable beauty as well. Unbelievable people, unbelievable light, the land itself. You're close to Hashem. There's endless positive things to say about Eretz Yisrael. And you know that the Gemara says that we try very hard to speak positively about Eretz Yisrael. We know that the Meraglim, that was their biggest problem, is that they spoke negative about Eretz Yisrael. So I on the other hand, we should not speak so positively as not to be able to do stuff and get it done. So therefore, I love your question. It's right. So pick one of those projects and get to work. Bring your company to Israel. Bring your company to Israel. Do it. And let me tell you another thing, Habibi. You just got married? Mazal Tov. You know what comes after that, Bezrat Hashem, right? Children come after that. Listen, raising your children in Eretz Yisrael is a schut. It's a schut. I can tell you, I'm raising 3 children in Eretz Yisrael, and with the problems, which I don't want to deny, but to raise a Jewish person speaking Hebrew on the land in the most organic of settings, the stuff that you tell them about Tefillah, about Beit Mikdash, about Yerushalayim, about Eretz Yisrael, about Hebron, about the language, it's all organic. That's what they read in the Torah. It's what they see outside. It's what they see at Snif Bnei Akiva. That's what they see in school. It's one. It's one. And so therefore, you are less bifurcated. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. When you go to vacation in Eretz Yisrael, we go to vacation in Eretz Yisrael. It's the greatest. Like just vacationing in Ein Gedi and in the north. It's just, I just took my kids, and my wife and kids to Tzfat for Lag BaOmer. We couldn't go to Meron because it was being bombed. So we went to Tzfat and we danced with Hasidim. And then we swam in the greatest little water hole, which is called Gana Shlosha, the Sachne. It's the greatest. You haven't been there? It's one of the greatest places in Eretz Yisrael. So there is a lot. And I hope that Bezrat Hashem, you will choose to be part of building it. Yes, sir.
It's a perfect segue. We're teaching our children to pray for peace. They're teaching even their preschoolers to kill Jews. Jews are worse than pigs and monkeys.
Right.
If you're teaching preschoolers, there will be generations of you trying to turn things around. Maybe.
So 2 things. 1, don't let them teach jihadism in your land. Well, that's wrong. It's wrong. By the way, in Hebron, I take sometimes school books out of the garbage. There's these school books today, they throw them out, their workbooks. I look at them, it's like jihadism in the math. I've seen it myself. I didn't see it on a camera video. I saw it with my own eyes. That's one. And the other thing is, what you said, that we teach our kids peace. I teach my kids that we have a right to fight for this land. And I tell my kids we probably are going to have to fight for 1,000 years, and that's what we're going to do to continue to hold on to this thing. We have to walk away from this peace kind of talk. We have to teach our children to be tough. En ma lasot. That's just the way it is. Israel's got to be tough, and we got to teach toughness. Toughness is not actually a natural response. It's a learned response. You got to teach it. Just like you have to send your kids to martial arts, just like you have to, the people train, like the Mara Zaka, Hatzalah people trained to go into a situation. You got to teach toughness. My kids, Baruch Hashem, I'm teaching them toughness. And it's important. And we can't spare our kids that toughness, or else they'll grow up weak. And it won't work in the Middle East. You got to be tough. You have to be tough. So we need a change on both of those a little bit. Sir.
Yes. So I like what you said. Everything you said was very nice. But I think that the Jewish people are a little bit bigger problem than that. October 7th was a terrible attack. On October 8th, in New York, in London, and in Paris, there were already demonstrations against Jews for Hamas. And this is before Israel did anything. I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think it's a thing like they just get up and see things moving on. The Jewish people all over the world is under attack. They're not just attacking Israel, but they're receiving guns and rifles, but it's all over the world. And a lot of Jews around the world will not feel so connected to your belief or emunah in that point that they will, that you're going to give them comfort. And it's not going to give them comfort or a way to work with them. We have to do something as the Jewish people around the world, where the Jews around the world can do against this wave of amazing, terrible hate. did it at the same time. I think this is the worst time for the Jews in the world.
So my friend Yisrael, who I know for many, many, many years, his family adopted me when I was a soldier in the army many years ago. So Yisrael's pointing out that, Izzy, is pointing out that there's a great wave of anti-Semitism around the world. Look, from my point of view, that anti-Semitism comes from Jewish weakness. If Israel would have crushed this situation fast, like they should have in the first 2 weeks. And the answer was very simple. It really was not complicated. It was like this. Turn off the water, turn off the electricity, turn off the fuel, turn off the food, fast. Make it brutal. And take care of business. Bring out your hostages, dead or alive. Finish out the bad guys. And then simply take control of that piece of land and say, listen, 2005 disengagement was a mistake. Now we're holding on to it. We're sorry about that bad policy. We're done with that. Here's what we're going to do. Arabs who are pro-Israel can get residency. Arabs who hate Israel are out one way or the other. Simple stuff, plain stuff. I think the world would have been like, fine. But what happened is that these guys are very smart. You really, and that's another thing. That's a certain position that I have, which I would like to recommend to all of you. Think of the enemy as smart, not dumb. Smart, maybe smarter than us sometimes. Just a position that I have. Iran is smart. You know what they realized years ago? You can't defeat Israel on the battlefield. They went for a long-term defeat of Israel through isolating it, isolationism. They came up with this idea of how to break us. And they waited for the right president in America. They waited for the right professors to be in every campus. They set up these cells everywhere. And exactly right, October 8th, boom, they launched it. You know what? First thing, kol hakavod, bemet. Hats off to the bad guys. They really, and they also saw that the Jewish leadership is weak. The healing will come when we realize these things, when we realize that the whole peace narrative, where are you? The whole peace narrative that we have been teaching our kids is weak. They have sensed it as a weakness. We have to talk about rights. We have to talk about Israel as natural and organic in the Middle East, as an ancestral land, as an indigenous peoples in the land. We talk about that we have every right to fight for it. We got to discredit the jihad, not just talk about the other side as wanting equalities in land. They don't want equalities in land. They want to get rid of us because of jihadism. We've been faking it for a long time. We've been faking it. And we have also corruption that has crept into many of our Jewish organizations. Many of our Jewish organizations are slow, and you go into the foreign ministry, it's half asleep. Many parts of the army are kind of corrupt. I don't mean people are taking it to their pocket. I mean, the money flows and everybody's happy and don't rock the boat. And and the same thing with campus. A lot of people are like, we got to work on campus, but on campus we've allowed jihadism, occupationism to take over. And we have not fought these things with strength. And so we've allowed the situation. Now it's time. Now we've dug ourselves into a hole. It's time to dig out. It's time to let's use October 7th as actually a moment that wakes us up, and not keep doing the same thing. Let's let the death of 1,500 people be a reason to sanctify their life by making an internal change. We got to wake up. I'll give you an example. I was in the army a few days after October 7th. I was in what's called Pikud Merkaz, Central Command, and they were giving us a speech. And I asked a question, and he gave me this classic Israeli general answer, a general's answer. Tov tishma nachnu po, ruchim po, kol tarchish nachnu makirim. Blah. He gave me this answer, and I said to him, Habibi, that was an October 7th answer. Excuse me, October 6th answer. That was an October 6th answer. We're done with that. Don't give me your, as we say in Hebrew, dawin, right? Like chalas. Be real. And that's what we got to do. We got to shake up the system now. We got to shake up the system. Now, in terms of globally what we can do, we got to be strong everywhere. Some places, the way to be strong, like Colombia, in my opinion, is to leave. Don't be there. Just say to them, we don't need your junk school. We're out of here. We're going to, I don't know what. We're going to Bar Ilan. We're going to Florida. I don't know. We're going to a different place. One way is to just say, a pox on your house, forget it. I'm not in your little system. I'm out. But another thing is, show Jews to be strong. Show us to be strong. If somebody's trying to beat you up, you gotta hit them harder. And show. And Israel's got to be strong. Benjamin Netanyahu, he's not only the head of Israel, he's the head in the sense of the Jewish people. And when he shows weakness, when we're fighting for 7 months over a little sandbox without taking care of business, it shows weakness. Yofi, I don't want to talk negative anymore. I want to talk positive. Listen, it's going a little bit long. I don't want to tax too many people. I need to talk about 2 more little things and then we're done, okay? Here we go. I want to show some films. First thing is, Yisrael, this is for you, okay? Friends, we are, the reason I can go to sleep at night is because we are not just talking, we're building Israel. I go to sleep at night because we're part of building Israel. I'm able to go to sleep because I know that we have right now in Hebron 31 new apartments that we're building. 31 apartments. Does that sound like a lot? For Arabs, it's nothing. But for us, that's going to be another. We have 80 families in Hebron. This will be 30 more. It's a big deal. Okay, so this piece of property that we liberated through a long process is actually an old Chabad property. And we got, do you guys know who Avram Fried is? Anybody here of Avram Fried? The superstar, right? We got him to come and make a movie with us about the Chabad properties. And I know this is not Chabad shul, but we all like Chabad a little bit, right? Right? They do their thing. Some of us don't like it a little. Okay, but let's switch. Can you switch tabs for me, please? If it's one of the other tabs. Next one. This one. Make it big, please. All right, let's hope we got sound. Let's push it back just a tad. You can just push it just a tad back. Here we go.
Let's take a subway to the end of this property. Did you just use the rent property? That's a good question. Let me tell you a story. Fasten your seatbelt.
The next stop is Hebron.
Whew, that was fast. From Kingston Station to Hebron Station. The story of Chabad in Hebron began about 200 years ago. Mitzvah encouraged his Hasidim to go to Eretz Yisrael. He wrote about the importance of buying land in the holy city of Hebron, and even commissioned the building of a Chabad synagogue here. Later, the community expanded significantly when the Tzemach Tzedek sent his own family members to Hebron, headed by the Rittel Rebbe's daughter, Rebbetzin Menucha Rachel Slavin, the granddaughter of the Alter Rebbe. This house is called Bet Romano. In 1876, Chaim Yisrael Romano, a rich grain merchant from Istanbul, built a large house on a piece of land he purchased outside the Jewish border. In this house lived the chief rabbi of Hebron, the tzaddik Chaim Chizkiah Medini, and established a yeshiva. After the death of the house's builder, Chaim Yisrael Romano, his sons put the house up for sale, and local Arabs offered a large sum. Reb Chaim Chizkiah Medini tried to keep the house, but was unable to obtain the sum. Then Rabbi Shimon Hoisman, a resident of Hebron, wrote a letter to the Rebbe Rashab, Reb Sholem Goldberg, pleading with him for help. The Rebbe became personally invested in the project and managed to save Bet Romano. In 1911, after the purchase, the Rebbe founded the Torah's Emes Yeshiva. The Ottoman Turks confiscated the house and its connected property and evicted the Chabad Yeshiva. In its place, they set up a police station, which was later taken over by the British. In 1929, the Rebbe Rayatz, Rebbe Yitzchak Schneerson, visited Hebron and viewed with deep pain the confiscated Chabad property, but was not allowed to enter. Just 3 weeks later, an Arab mob set out to commit a horrific massacre against the Jewish men, women, and children of Hebron. In Bet Romano, the wounded and the murdered were gathered. From here, the dead were brought to burial, and the Jewish survivors were deported from Hebron. In 1948, the Jordanians occupied Bet Romano and used it as an Arab school. The miracle of the 1967 Six-Day War, Yerushalayim and Hebron were liberated. The effort to rebuild Hebron's Jewish community began, and Hebron's sister city, Kiryat Arba, was established. But the redemption of Bet Romano was not yet accomplished.
השטח המקרקעין ארץ ישראל. Und gut, dass es gibt דווקא in Hebron.
Bet Romano was finally reclaimed in 1982, and Yeshivat Shavei Hebron was established, but the majority of the property was not yet in our hands. The struggle to reclaim the rest was difficult and lasted years, but with Hashem's help, now we are building big time! And here we are, standing in the Chizkiah Quarter Chabad property with a unique opportunity to be part of history. A property fought for by the Sdei Chemed, the Rebbe Rashab, by the Rebbe Rayatz, and the Rebbe. Right now, friends, this is a brick site, as you can see. But soon, very soon, it will be 31 spacious, high-standard apartments with kindergarten, playgrounds, workspaces, and community facilities with 2 levels of underground parking, and all in walking distance from the Meharas HaMarchela. This is an incredibly rare opportunity to build Eretz Yisrael, to rebuild Hebron, and to walk in the footsteps of the Avos, the Imamis, and the great Chabad Rebbe's. Hebron Sheli.
Okay. Wow. I got to produce this film. I got to make this film. You see that little kid that he was with, the pants? That was my son. Yeah, that was so. I gotta tell you, I get chills. Yesterday we were at. You guys know the Lubavitcher Rebbe had the secretary, Rabbi Groner. You ever seen? You see like all the pictures. His wife. We were at her house. He just passed away 3 years ago. Yeah. Yeah. So she's going to probably buy a property because Rabbi Leibel Groner, is 5th generation from Menucha Rachel Slonim in Hebron. Any case, so I think that movie was fun to see. And also, did you see that 6-day war part? We're celebrating that today. In fact, today's Yom Yerushalayim, tomorrow's Yom Hebron, right? Hebron is liberated the day after Yerushalayim. Okay, last thing, and then we're done. Are you guys tired, or you guys want one more thing?
Is it still the same price?
What?
Is it still 650?
650 to 850, depending on the apartment. There's 12. No, there's 12 apartments left. We're here to sell. That's what I'm here to. Huh? Starting price is 6. No, there are apartments for 650. There are apartments for up to 850, which I live in Efrat. That's not a lot of money in Efrat. Right? So that, in Hebron, if you want to have a place next to Marat Machpelah, speak to me. It's real. Can you pause? What's that noise? Oh, it's AC. Okay. So that's real. Let me know if you're interested in that. And you know what? I'm proud to sell. I'm proud that I'm selling a chelik in Hebron today. All right, last thing, and I know that you guys have to go, but today, Yom Yerushalayim, is we really celebrate the 6-day war. And a lot was liberated in the 6-day war. The Golan Heights, the Sinai, Halavite should be liberated again soon, the Gaza Strip, and of course, Yudah and Shomron. There's a road in Yudah and Shomron, the central road is called Route 60, right? I'm working on a project to change the name of Route 60 to the Biblical Highway. Maybe you saw David Friedman also worked on it, on this film, and Baruch Hashem, we had a partnership on that, and we are continuing the project of changing the name of Route 60. Let's look for a second. This is 3 minutes and we're done about that. Let's make it big. Yeah, let's push it back and make it big, please. And if a little bit more volume, a little bit more volume, just a tad up on the volume. Yeah, great.
Some of humanity's greatest stories took place on one road in the Holy Land, stretching along Israel's central mountain ridge. It's called Route 60, the Biblical Highway. The road begins in the south, in the desert city of Beersheba, named by the biblical forefathers Abraham and Isaac. Here, Abraham built an oasis to teach travelers the truth of one God. Next is Hebron. Here lies the ancestral burial cave purchased by Abraham 3,800 years ago, and where the biblical forefathers and mothers were buried. Today, it is topped by a majestic 2,000-year-old edifice erected by King Herod. 3,000 years ago, King David made Hebron his first capital city, and here he was crowned king of Israel. Northwards is Bethlehem, where Jacob buried his beloved wife, the matriarch Rachel. Bethlehem is also the setting for the book of Ruth, the righteous Moabite convert and great-grandmother of King David, who was born and anointed here. Jerusalem, jewel in the heart of the Holy Land, and home to Mount Moriah, site of the binding of Isaac. The first and second temples stood here, the pride of two independent Jewish commonwealths. An ultimate symbol of the connection between man and God, Jerusalem is the spiritual capital of the world. Beit El. While fleeing from his brother Esau, Jacob came here and experienced a prophetic dream of a ladder connecting heaven and earth. Jacob named the place Beit El, house of God. 20 years later, he would return with his wives and children and receive a new name, Israel. Shiloh, spiritual center for almost 400 years after the children of Israel entered the land. Here, the biblical Hannah prayed for a son and was answered with the birth of Samuel the prophet. Shechem. While congregated on the twin mountains of Gerizim and Ebal, the Jewish people received blessings and curses. Here, Joshua buried the bones of Joseph, carried to the land of Israel by the Jewish people during their sojourn from Egypt. The road continues north to the Gilboa Ridge and Jezreel Valley. Here, on majestic Mount Tabor, the prophetess Devorah sang a song of victory, and nearby the fearless Yael slew Sisera, commander of Hatzor's army. Here, King Saul and his son Jonathan fell in battle, and in nearby Megiddo, the armies of Israel clashed with invaders. The biblical highway is an ancient road that brings the cities of the Bible and their stories to life, and it's reborn today as Israel's Route 60. The highway, the Holy Land, and the cities of the Bible are waiting for you, where your epic journey is about to begin.
Okay, so that's another project. We're busy out there, right? We're busy. We got a lot going on, Baruch Hashem. And we've spoken about a lot of things today. We've spoken about ways to be stronger. We've spoken about Hebron and rebuilding it, and taking part, even taking any step in rebuilding and being part of the building of Israel today. That's what we have to do. That's the question that I want everybody to leave with today. I think most of you will answer, I'm already doing a lot. But am I part of building Eretz Yisrael? Wherever I am. That's the only question. And finally, Hebron, and finally the biblical highway, which is also branding. We've got to be proud of our brand. We've got to be proud of the brand of Israel as a biblical highway. I can tell you, I showed this movie to Goyim. They love it. They're like, wow, Israel, when are you going to be Israel that we know from the Bible? And we definitely can take a step towards that. With that, I want to really thank you. I want to thank BRS. I want to thank you guys for coming out today and wish you lots of brachot. May we be strong together, and may Hashem really help us see a Yerushalayim shlema and rebuilt.
All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed that segment at Boca Raton Synagogue. Let me know if you agreed with the count of four reasons why Hamas started this war on October 7th and what we can learn from it. And I want to take this opportunity right now to thank all the good folks. First thing, my awesome teammates on the Yishai Fleisher Israel podcast, Yocheved Seidman, Moshe Herman, Ben Bresky, Tabitha, and we remember Lou when he was alive, because he used to help us when we were alive. God bless him, Lou. God bless you. And God bless you in the Shema. And I want to thank the sponsors to our show. First thing, the Jewish community of Hebron, which we're out here promoting. Hebronfund.org. Help us continue to be strong. And of course, come on our tour if you're coming this summer. And I want to thank the good folks at El Al for flying to Eretz Yisrael. And when you do come to Eretz Yisrael, if you're coming this summer, then please look up Hebronfund.org and come on one of our tours. And then go up on the Temple Mount. And B'ezrat Hashem will be going up to the Temple Mount Shavuot in a few days. The holiday, the Feast of Weeks, Tabernacles, Pentecost. No, not Tabernacles, sorry. Feast of Weeks, Pentecost, all those funny names. We call it Shavuot, or as the Hasidim say, Shvius. If you're coming for the holidays, please tour with us, and please go up to the Temple Mount as well. HighOnTheHeart.com. Our good friend MJ doing an amazing job teaching people about the ability to go up in the Temple Mount in holiness and in connectivity. And of course, jns.org and jewishpress.com for putting up the Yishai Fleisher show and for putting out great news about the land of Israel, which we're all hooked into. Along with all the other ways that we collect our news, those are great news services. Okay, Ben Bresky, our intrepid reporter out there, has a segment about the story of Yerushalayim Shel Zahav, the great song that came out just a few months before the Six-Day War. The song became a great hit, and somehow it was a song that was prophetic in its spirit of uniting Yerushalayim and getting the Jewish people back to Jerusalem. We just celebrated Yom Yerushalayim. I was in Florida, and we celebrated also Yom Hebron, which is the liberation of Hebron, and the whole story about Rav Goren and coming down to Hebron ahead of the army. An amazing story. We're still celebrating that victory of the Six-Day War, even though some folks have done a lot of work to undermine that great victory. We are still celebrating it and fighting for the wholeness of the land of Israel. By the way, I came up with this when I was in Florida. The word peace, right? The word peace in Hebrew comes from shalom. Shalom comes from shlemut. Shalom means peace, but shlemut means wholeness. But what they mean, peace, comes from the different spelling, comes from the word peace, like pieces, right? So when the bad guys say the word peace, what they mean is, let's cut the land of Israel up and make it into pieces. But when we mean peace, we mean shalom, which is shlemut, which is the land of Israel should be whole. In any case, here is our beloved Ben Bresky with the story of Yerushalayim Shel Zahav.
This is a moment in Jewish history. The song Jerusalem of Gold, Yerushalayim Shel Zahav, is one of the most recognizable Israeli songs. First recorded in 1967 with words and music by Naomi Shemer and vocals by Shuli Natan, it became an anthem during the Six-Day War. I had the opportunity to interview Shuli Natan, and I would like to present this classic interview, one of my favorites that I have done over the years. But first, some background information. Throughout 1967, Israel's neighboring countries were threatening to push the Jews into the sea as their rhetoric went, and with the backing of the Soviet Union, they had the means to do so. In June of 1967, Israel successfully repelled the armies of Egypt, Syria, and Jordan. And after 19 years of being occupied by Jordan, the old city of Jerusalem was liberated. The Western Wall, part of the Temple Mount, the holiest site of Judaism, was once again accessible, as was Judea, Samaria, Gaza, Sinai, and the Golan Heights. And here's my interview with Shuli Natan. This is Shuli Natan. Why don't you tell us a little about who you are and what you do?
Well, I'm the singer who first sang the original version of Yerushalayim Shel Zahav on Independence Day, 1967, on a song festival. And the song has become like a prophecy and the hymn of the Six-Day War and the most beloved song in Israel till this day.
Did you know that was going to happen that day? I mean, did they just find you? And
I felt that I had a treasure in my hand as a song, but I could never imagine that it would take that route, that it would become almost like a hymn.
And they just found you and put you up on stage?
Well, Naomi Shemer chose me to sing this song. Teddy Kollek asked for songs for Jerusalem for the festival. Outside of the contest, Naomi has been asked to write a song, and she wrote Jerusalem of Gold. And then when they asked, who would you like to perform the song, she said, I heard a young girl singing not long ago on an amateur program, and I would like her to sing the song. So first they objected and said that this girl, her name was Shuli Natan, is a soldier, and she's an amateur singer, and they don't use amateurs on that festival. And Naomi said, if you don't let her sing that song, I'm not going to submit the song. That is how my fate was.
So you've worked with her this entire time
Yeah,
now?
I worked with her during the winter. That was before, like January, February, before the festival was in April. So then I got to know her, and we worked plenty on the song. Although she gave me quite a lot of freedom, she insisted on the harmonies and the general frame of the song, but she gave me quite a lot of freedom to make my own interpretation.
So that performance was actually before the war?
It was before the war. It was 2.5 weeks before the war. The next day they started to call the Miluim. And 2.5 weeks later, the city was freed, and General Mota Gur said, Har HaBayit is in our hands, and all the paratroopers who were there were shouting, Yerushalayim Shel Zahav, and it became like a hymn.
What have you been doing now? You're now releasing new albums.
I made about 6 albums in the first part of my career, long plays between 67 and 75. Then I got married and had 5 children, and I stopped for 10 years. And my second career started when my youngest son was 2, and it lasts till now. And I released 4 CDs, amongst them one of Shlomo Karlebach songs, which I released about 2 years ago. And I'm going on, and I'm very, very busy singing in Israel and around the world as well.
Do people recognize your name? Do they know you?
Most people do. The young people, though, they know if you tell them that I'm the original singer of Jerusalem of Gold. So everybody knows Jerusalem of Gold.
Did you work with Naomi Shemer this entire time?
Well, I worked with her later. We released another LP. Shuli Natan sings Naomi Shemer songs. That was in 1974. And we were always in touch with her and with her family, her husband and her children. We were very fond of each other.
Have you been all over the world now touring?
I've been, yes, all through the years, yes.
What have the reactions been? Do you have any stories?
It's always very exciting when they hear Yerushalayim Shel Zahav. People cry. They get very excited.
How did you learn how to sing?
Well, I started to play the guitar, and that made me start singing when I was 16.
Do you have any CDs coming out now?
I'm working. I want to start now on a new one, which will be more ethnic music, Ladino songs, Italian, Moroccan, Jewish songs, maybe some songs around the world.
Are there any Jerusalem of Gold type songs now?
No, not that I know. There isn't anything like it, because it's not a normal song. It's really something once in a decade.
Do you have any advice for people that maybe want to write such a song or want to just have a music career?
It's not something that you can do with intention. I don't think she did it with intention in her mind. She just went to Jerusalem, walked in the streets of Jerusalem, wrote about the sadness of us not being able to reach the wall and the holy places, and she was inspired, and that you can't. She certainly was inspired. Thank you, and that's it.
Okay, Mrs. Natan, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
The following are the lyrics of Yerushalayim Shel Zahav, translated from Hebrew. The mountain air is clear as wine, and the scent of pines is carried on the breeze of twilight with the sound of bells, and in the slumber of tree and stone, captured in her dream, the city that sits solitary, and in its midst is a wall, Jerusalem of gold and of bronze and of light. Behold, I am a violin for all your songs. How the cisterns have dried, the marketplace is empty, and no one frequents the Temple Mount in the old city. And in the caves in the mountain, winds are howling, and no one descends to the Dead Sea by way of Jericho. Jerusalem of gold and of bronze and of light, behold, I am a violin for all your songs. But as I come to sing to you today, and to adorn crowns to you, I am the smallest of the youngest of your children, and of the last poet. For your name scorches the lips like the kiss of a seraph, if I forget thee, O Jerusalem, which is all gold. And now this final verse was added after the 6-day war. We have returned to the cisterns, to the market, and to the marketplace. The ram's horn calls out on the Temple Mount in the old city, and in the caves in the mountain thousands of suns shine. We will once again descend to the Dead Sea by way of Jericho. As mentioned in the interview, the Israel Defense Force paratroopers who liberated the Temple Mount and Western Wall spontaneously began singing Jerusalem of Gold. The following is a recording made by a reporter who was on the scene. June 7th, 1967.
אני יורד ברגע זה אני יורד במדרגות אל הכותל. אינני אדם דתי, מעולם לא הייתי, אבל זהו הכותל, ואני נוגע באבני הכותל המערבי. ברוך אתה אדוני מנחם ציון ובונה ירושלים.
בשנה הזאת בירושלים הבנויה.
Naomi Shemer was born in 1930 in Kibbutz Kfutzat Kinneret, of which her parents were among the founders. She studied at the Jerusalem Academy of Music and moved to Tel Aviv upon marriage. She began her long career creating melodies to well-known Hebrew poets such as Rachel Bluestein, Shaul Chernikovsky, and Natan Alterman. She later became famous for her lyrics as well, and with Jerusalem of Gold grew to be the songstress of Israel, winning many awards. Shuli Natan grew up in Ramat Gan and studied at the Reuben Academy of Music and Dance in Jerusalem before she became famous during the 6-day war. She continues to record and perform. The Israel Song Festival, where Jerusalem of Gold was first performed, took place for 20 years, starting in 1960, and featured some of the top names in Israeli music. It was Jerusalem Mayor Teddy Kollek who commissioned Naomi Shemer to compose a special song for the event. Toward the end, the festival became a springboard for choosing who would represent Israel at the annual Eurovision Song Competition. It was also an influence on the creation of the Hasidic Song Festival. I remember seeing old record albums released for both of these annual song competitions, containing what now are classic standards. But the story of Israeli music and how it spread around the world is a podcast for another time. This has been a special moment in Jewish history for Jerusalem Day, Yom Yerushalayim. Thank you to all the listeners, thank you to Yishai Fleisher, and Shalom.
Okay, Ben, thank you so much for that fabulous piece, Shuli Natan and the story of Yerushalayim Shel Zahav. Excellent, and gives us a lot of perspective. And may God give us many more songs that give us the atmosphere of Jewish strength and Jewish wholeness and spirituality all bundled in together. By the way, one song, there's a few great songs out there, but there's one song that I've been playing for people at these events, like for mingling time. Look up Yehoram Gaon Lo Yenatzchoti. Fabulous song, great video, gives people just a lot of, it makes you move, it gives people the strength that people need right now. Sometimes music is the strongest of all drinks and drugs and things. There's nothing like a song that gets you going and feeling that we need right now, which is Jewish strength, inspired of course by Hashem, given us through God. That's really the ultimate way to do business in this world, which is you do it and do it with the strength that God has given you, and then thank Him. credit him for doing it. That's the way God wants it to be done. He wants us to be the force of miracles through recognition that he's the one that's given us strength. All right, I also want to thank the good folks at buymeacoffee.com/Yishai. It's a great way to support the show and all that we do. Check out our YouTube channel. Oh, that's right, I forgot to thank one of our new teammates, which is David, on the work on social media. Check out our YouTube page, Yishai Fleisher TV. I also want to thank the good folks at koshercycletours.com, cycling in the land of Israel in kosherness and awesomeness, and the good folks at retrowatchguy.com, bringing out great watches from the past and making them alive today. I am a proud owner as well. And of course, Prohibition Pickle can't go on and I, you know, when you're traveling with Uri here, you always got to find some kosher food along the way to make sure that we're strong. And if sometimes it's a funky protein bar, and more happily when it's a steak, and sometimes it's just a salad to go, but you need that kosher food to keep you going out there. So thank you to prohibitionpickle.co.il. Folks, this is the last show before the great holiday of Shavuot. Tonight we counted 45 nights since the second night of Passover, of Pesach. It's been such a spiritual and important count. We're coming up to Shavuot, the holiday that we receive the Torah. I want to bless you to receive the Torah wherever you are, and I really want to wish you guys, where I was just in America, people kept saying to me, can you give us a blessing? That happened like 3 times. And so I feel that we really need to bless one another. Let us be channels for blessing. Even though we're not living in an easy time, that's exactly when we have to rise to the occasion. That's exactly when we have to channel Hashem's blessings more than before. The war is also an opportunity for tshuva. It's an opportunity for blessings. It's an opportunity for embracing one another more. There's a tremendous opportunity in this time of crisis. And never let a crisis go to waste. And that's exactly what it is. Never let a crisis keep us from getting closer to God and closer to Eretz Yisrael and closer to our children and closer to our friends and push that agenda forward. This is the time to do it. So God bless you wherever you are. Happy Shavuot, one of my favorite holidays. May God help you receive the Torah this year and spirituality this year and the Kabbalah this year. And may we grow in our depth and connectivity to Torah. And I want to send you blessings from the cab, from LaGuardia on the way to Brooklyn, on the way, of course, to Yerushalayim Yer HaKodesh. God bless you, folks, wherever you are. Stay tuned, stay connected, stay part of the story, stay strong, and shalom.